What if I told you that one of the most famous paintings in history, the one hanging silently in a monastery in Milan, may have just spoken for the first time in 500 years, for centuries? Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper has been studied, copied, worshipped, and debated. Millions have seen it, but no one has truly heard it until now. In 2020, a team of scientists used artificial intelligence to look deeper than any human eye ever could. And what they found didn't just rewrite art history, it shook the foundations of faith itself. Because hidden beneath centuries of paint, dust, and restoration were words, real words, not brushstrokes, not texture, not coincidence, but messages written by Leonardo's own hand, sealed away inside his masterpiece like a time capsule. At first, the researchers thought it was nothing, random cracks, patterns from age. But when the AI started detecting faint letters, shapes that mirrored Leonardo's own secret handwriting, a chill ran through the room. It was as if the painting was alive, whispering in a language only the future could understand. Why would Da Vinci, a man of science and vision, hide words inside the holiest scene in Christianity? Was it a secret confession, a warning, or a challenge meant for the age of reason, for our age? Historians have always said Leonardo believed art was more than beauty. It was a form of encryption. He wrote backward, spoke in riddles, and filled his notebooks with codes no one could break for centuries. But what if The Last Supper wasn't just a painting of faith, but a cipher of truth? A message to those who would one day have the tools to read it? In this video, we'll journey through the real story behind that shocking discovery, from the AI scans that peeled back the layers of history, to the cryptic words that no one was ever meant to see. We'll uncover what Leonardo may have been trying to tell us about God, power, and the fragile line between knowledge and belief. Because this isn't just about art anymore. It's about something far more dangerous. The moment when technology collides with mystery and the past begins to talk back. And the question that now haunts historians, believers, and scientists alike is this: if Leonardo da Vinci really hid a message in The Last Supper, then what else has been waiting beneath the paint, not just in his work, but in the very history we thought we understood? Stay to the end, because what you're about to hear might change the way you look at every masterpiece, every miracle, and even your own faith. In early 2025, a group of researchers from Italy and Japan launched a quiet experiment they called Da Vinci Decoded. It wasn't meant to be world-changing. The goal was simple: to test whether artificial intelligence could analyze ancient paintings with microscopic precision. But as history has shown again and again, simple questions can open terrifying doors. Inside a dimly lit lab in Florence, surrounded by computers humming with data, a digital version of The Last Supper flickered to life on a massive screen. Every brushstroke, every crack, every shadow of Leonardo's fading masterpiece was scanned using hyperspectral imaging, a technology that sees far beyond the limits of human sight. The AI's job was to look through centuries of dust, pigment, and restoration, down to the bare surface where Leonardo's original hand once moved. Millions of pixels became numbers, patterns, equations. At first, it seemed routine, until the machine began to notice something that human eyes had missed for half a millennium. Tiny shapes, faint lines, patterns that didn't belong to paint at all. Dr. Elena Rossi, an Italian art historian who had dedicated 20 years to studying Leonardo, remembers the exact moment her heart stopped. She leaned forward as the AI highlighted an area just behind Jesus, faint, almost invisible, where cracks formed shapes resembling letters. The software ran a cross-comparison with Da Vinci's notebooks, trained on his famous mirror handwriting. Within seconds, it matched. It wasn't a coincidence. The symbols were real. To verify it wasn't an illusion, the team rescanned the area using ultraviolet and infrared imaging. Every test confirmed the same thing. Under layers of pigment lay traces of words, written in a reversed, slanted script only Leonardo would have used. The room fell silent. No one dared to speak. On the monitor, the letters glowed faintly, as if waking from centuries of sleep. He whispered, he meant for these to be found, but not in his time. From that moment, the experiment changed forever. What began as an academic project had turned into something far greater, a conversation across centuries. The researchers now realized that Leonardo hadn't just painted a religious scene, he had buried a code beneath the surface, a language that only the technology of the future could uncover. As the scans continued, more marks appeared, small, delicate, deliberate. They clustered around the shadows under the table, along the walls, and even in the folds of the disciples' robes. The AI started connecting them, revealing a spiral pattern that began near Jesus' right hand and radiated outward through every figure, like a ripple of meaning moving through time. Dr. Rossi couldn't believe what she was seeing. "It's not random," she said softly. "It's choreography." He painted motion, and within it, he wrote thought. Soon, faint Italian words began to emerge. Umbra, shadow; verita, truth; tradimento, betrayal. Each one tied to a different part of the painting, each one resonating with the story of the Last Supper itself. Was Leonardo confessing something? Or questioning everything? The deeper the scans went, the clearer the writing became. The AI began to reconstruct full phrases, ones that seemed to speak directly from Leonardo's mind. What is seen is not what is true. The hands speak louder than the mouths of men. These weren't biblical verses. They were thoughts, human, defiant, almost prophetic. Days turned into weeks. The AI never stopped working, layer after layer, pixel after pixel, as if it too were searching for something sacred. Each new scan pulled the researchers further down a rabbit hole Leonardo had dug 500 years ago. Soon, the team began to see a pattern. The words weren't scattered at random, they formed precise geometric alignments. Following the golden ratio, a mathematical sequence Da Vinci used obsessively, every hidden word seemed to pulse outward from the center of the composition, from Jesus himself, spiraling through the disciples as though truth itself were radiating, yet hidden within the divine. The AI started reconstructing longer fragments. Under the folds of Judas's robe appeared a faint inscription that read, "He who eats with truth will not betray himself." It was haunting. The line felt personal, not biblical, but human. Then, beneath Peter's figure, "Strength without understanding is blind." And under Thomas, the doubter, "To question is not sin, but the path to clarity." Each phrase was deliberate, positioned as if Leonardo had written individual reflections on every apostle. The meaning was undeniable. He wasn't mocking faith. He was dissecting it, holding it to the same scrutiny he gave to the human body, to nature, to the cosmos. Dr. Rossi called it Leonardo's theology of reason, a hidden gospel not of religion, but of curiosity. But as the AI went deeper, the messages grew darker. Near the base of the mural, where the disciples' feet rested, a longer sentence appeared under centuries of paint. "The ones who hold power will bury truth beneath stone until the eyes of the future uncover it." Everyone froze. The words felt less like art and more like prophecy. Was Da Vinci warning us? Was this his silent rebellion against the church's control of knowledge in his era? To test it, the researchers compared the phrasing to Leonardo's notebooks. The same handwriting appeared in his journal from 1498, the very year the Last Supper was completed. The same inverted script, the same rhythm, the same voice. It wasn't coincidence, it was intentional. And then the most chilling discovery of all, beneath the pigment of Jesus's robe, right at the center of the composition, invisible to any naked eye, the AI detected a faint inscription. After several hours of enhancement and translation, it read, "Truth belongs not to the saints, but to those who seek it in silence." The words struck everyone in the room like a revelation. They weren't heresy, they were philosophy, and yet, in Da Vinci's time, philosophy itself was dangerous. Dr. Rossi whispered what everyone else was thinking. If this is real, Leonardo didn't just paint faith, he questioned it. The team mapped all the discovered sentences together. When arranged by their geometric positions, they formed a spiral pattern ending at the heart of Jesus, the exact center of the golden ratio. And when combined, the sentences revealed a hidden thesis. Faith without reason is the sleep of truth, and those who wake shall see what was forbidden. The message was clear. Leonardo's masterpiece wasn't only an image of divine sacrifice, it was a coded sermon about enlightenment, reason, and the courage to see beyond imposed belief. For 5 centuries, the Last Supper had stood as a symbol of devotion. But now it had become something far more dangerous, a confrontation between blind faith and human curiosity. As Dr. Rossi put it, he painted salvation, but he also painted warning. Maybe Leonardo knew that someday. When the world was ready, when machines could finally see what humans could not, his true voice would rise. And now it had. The Vatican was quietly informed that anomalies had been detected beneath the Last Supper, but even they didn't know what the researchers were truly beginning to uncover. For beneath the cracks and fading color of a sacred image, Leonardo's voice was returning. The news broke quietly at first. A short statement from the Da Vinci Decoded project, noting anomalous writing beneath the surface of the Last Supper. But within 24 hours, the world erupted. Headlines screamed, "AI uncovers hidden words in Da Vinci's masterpiece." What began in a small Florentine lab had exploded into a global storm of wonder, disbelief, and fear. Art critics called it the greatest archaeological discovery of the digital age. Religious groups called it blasphemy, and the Vatican, caught between reverence and alarm, released a careful statement, promising to review the claims with great seriousness. Behind closed doors, however, Vatican officials were shaken. The messages Leonardo left didn't attack faith, but they questioned the foundations of religious authority. The idea that a man of the Renaissance could foresee a time when truth would be buried beneath stone and later uncovered by the eyes of the future was deeply unsettling. Meanwhile, the research team in Florence was overwhelmed. Reporters camped outside the lab. Social media turned the story into a wildfire of speculation. Some said Da Vinci had predicted artificial intelligence itself, that he knew machines would one day read what humans could not. Others claimed it was an elaborate hoax or a misinterpretation of natural cracks and pigment decay. But those who knew Leonardo's mind understood differently. Every gesture, every proportion in his art served a purpose. He didn't paint by accident. He calculated beauty, geometry, and emotion with surgical precision. To them, the discovery wasn't shocking. It was inevitable. Museums across Europe began displaying digital overlays of the painting, allowing visitors to view the hidden inscriptions projected over the original mural. For the first time, people could literally see Leonardo's secret voice woven into sacred art, faint phrases glowing beneath the surface, almost like ghostly echoes of his thoughts. Visitors wept. Some felt enlightened, others felt betrayed. A woman in Milan told reporters, "It's as if the painting had a soul that we never heard until now." But not everyone saw it as revelation. In Rome and Madrid, protesters gathered outside cathedrals, holding banners that read, "Faith is not a code to be cracked." Some called for the removal of digital scans from museums, claiming technology was desecrating what should remain divine. Yet despite the controversy, the images continued to spread, shared on every platform, analyzed in classrooms, discussed in churches. No matter how people felt, no one could unsee what had been revealed. As historians looked deeper, they found even more connections between Leonardo's secret phrases and his surviving notebooks. The same warnings appeared in his writings on optics and perception, about how the eyes see only what the mind is ready to comprehend. It was as though Leonardo had known his own generation wasn't ready for the truth. So he hid it, waiting for ours. 5 centuries later, that truth had finally surfaced. And so the Last Supper, a painting that once symbolized the divine mystery of sacrifice, now carried another meaning, the human hunger for truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. Dr. Rossi, exhausted but moved, summarized it best in her final report. Leonardo da Vinci painted silence, and inside that silence, he left a message, not to destroy faith, but to awaken reason, to remind us that truth and belief were never enemies, only partners waiting to be reconciled. That idea, both beautiful and terrifying, changed how the world saw the Last Supper forever. When the dust finally settled, the Last Supper remained where it had always been, silent, solemn, unchanging. But to those who had seen what lay beneath, it would never be the same again. Leonardo da Vinci's hidden words weren't an attack on faith. They were a mirror, a reminder that truth doesn't fear light, and that reason isn't the enemy of belief. For centuries, his message slept beneath paint and time, waiting for the one thing he could never have, a mind unbound by fear, a world ready to listen. Now, through the eyes of AI, that world has arrived, and what it found wasn't blasphemy, but brilliance. Leonardo didn't want to destroy faith. He wanted to awaken it, to free it from blind obedience, to remind humanity that the divine and the rational can exist together, side by side, just as his art balanced shadow and light. Perhaps that's why he chose the Last Supper, the ultimate moment of trust and betrayal, to hide his warning. Because every generation faces the same question: will we follow blindly, or will we dare to seek? In the end, maybe that's Leonardo's true prophecy, not about religion, or power, or science, but about us. That truth, like light, only reveals itself to those brave enough to look beyond the surface. So the next time you see the Last Supper, don't just look at the faces or the colors, look at the silence. Listen to what hides beneath, because somewhere under centuries of paint, Leonardo's voice is still whispering, seek it, even when they tell you not to. And perhaps that's the real miracle, that 500 years later, his message has finally found the ears it was meant for.